Hello everyone, I'm Erica. Welcome back to my channel, and forgive me if I am a little choppy and rusty today. This is the first time I have been in front of a camera in quite a while. I did actually take a break. There is no pre-filming or anything that I have done this time like I did for a lot of my videos over the last year. So I am going to step back into doing this slowly and when I have time, without putting any type of pressure on myself for bi-weekly uploads like I was doing before. I'm aware that that isn't the biggest way to get pushed in the algorithm, but I'm totally okay with that. I have gotten some feedback since I took my break that my videos are at least appreciated by a few people, and I still really do enjoy making them, so we will see what I can do. But for my slow re-entry back into this, I wanted to show a little bit of the processes of the quilt that I mentioned in my last video. So since I did that video, I've finished the top and the backing. Well, pause and rewind a little bit. I know I mentioned in that video that I was thinking about doing a double-sided quilt. That got nixed. I am not the biggest quilter. Again, I think I said it in the previous video. I enjoy it every once in a while, and this particular one I started 6 years ago, and I think I was musing as to why it took me 6 years to revisit it, but I figured it out, and why I took such a hiatus is because when I finished cutting everything out, I think it was like right after that I found out I was pregnant with my surprise pregnancy that wasn't planned or wanted and at that time, and that's another story, and it ended up being my adorably precious twin boys that I now have that are 5. And so I don't know if you watching this have had kids or twins, but twins is a whole nother level of survival. In the first couple of years, we felt like, my husband and I felt like we were starting all the way back over again as brand new parents, even though we had 3 older ones, and they still are doing that to us. We love them dearly. But yeah, it's a very good reason as to why this quilt took a 6-year break. So I finished the top, and then for the backing, instead of doing the double quilt, I just wanted to do a white cotton for the back. And one of the big elements of this project was I desperately did not want to spend any more money on fabric. I'm really trying to not buy any more right now. I have a pretty significant stash that I am trying to work through, and I thought surely I have enough white to back a quilt. Even if I have to piece it, I'm totally fine piecing it. I did not. Spoiler alert. I had cream. I had it's a little bit sharper of a white, but it was a different feel, texture. It wasn't just straight up quilting cotton. So back to the thrift store I hauled myself, because I absolutely refused to go to the fabric store and buy it new. Thank goodness I found another remnant that I was able to piece to what I already had to make the full back, which was quite large because this is a king size quilt. My husband and I do have a king size bed, and I thought about making it into a queen size quilt, but we don't own a queen size bed in our house. All of my kids have twin size beds, and my husband and I have a king size bed, and that's not going to change. And I wasn't going for a lap quilt. I was going for a quilt that would function as a bedspread. And so there was no point in making a queen. We don't have a queen bed. So that's why I ended up needing to be so big. And I had to bring in other fabrics that I wasn't initially planning on bringing into this quilt, but I think it turned out absolutely stunning. I don't know how much of it I'll be able to get on camera. It's currently folded up and quite large, but these, I mentioned part of the reason for this quilt was to use a lot of the fabrics that I bought in Japan when I went. I think it was about 17 years ago, and a little over 17 years ago, and this fabric is one of them. It is in the fan pieces as well here, but it was nice to be able to incorporate it in a little bit bigger of a way. And I think I'm going to use this for the binding as well, because I still have enough of it left after this quilt to do that. So this one is the other fabric from Japan, and this one is the third. So those are the three that I was trying to incorporate. The extras here, we have this one, and this one. I think that's it. And then just the white that's on the front that's different than the white that's on the back. The white that's on the back is just a white. This white has a little leaf pattern in it that's very very pretty and goes really well with it. So the next thing to do, I'm going to try to show it off better once I get it laid out, but I've got to go lay out the back, put the batting in it, and then lay the top on. And then I have a whole bunch of pins that are probably still not enough of basting pins to do the basting. So we'll see how many I can do. That's all I've got. I don't know if it's enough, but we'll work with it. And if worst comes to worst, I actually found these two packages for 50 cents each at the thrift store near us that somehow got a whole bunch of sewing supplies recently, and they had a ton of them, but I only bought two because I was trying not to overbuy. So I don't know if they still have it, but I can go back and check. Anyway, so I'm gonna have to move rooms because this does not fit on my cutting table, and yeah, I will probably time lapse laying it all out and then try to do a close-up of the top. Okay, so the living room floor in our house is the only space that I had that was big enough to do this, and that rug is literally taped to the floor with a non-skid thing that goes under rugs so that my kids won't kick it around. And so I wasn't really able to move it. And this is the part of the video where I say I had to redo all of this. I don't know if it was because the rug was under it. I don't know why. I thought I had done all the straightening that I needed to do, and I thought I checked it. I mean, I did check it all the way, but somehow I missed a massive wrinkle on the back fabric that went right down the center, and I noticed it after I had finished all of the pinning. So I did have to redo this, and then I ended up moving it to my cutting table and just scooting it and pinning it and scooting it and pinning it and that worked way better than the floor did. So I probably should have just done that in the first place. This is also where I say that I did not have nearly enough pins. So I got about maybe half of the way through pinning it just with pins really not as many as they should have been. Sorry, my dryer started going off telling me it was done. I got distracted. So I had to stop and go pick up pins. Thankfully, the thrift store still had one big bin towards the back of the store of the large ones, but that also meant that I also had to pick up my kids from school before I got back, so this ended up taking another day to do. That was okay. In the end, it got pinned correctly and all the wrinkles got out of the back, and now I have a whole mason jar full of pins that probably won't get used that often because I don't quilt very often. But anyway, it got done. I also did end up having to go ahead and add that strip of white fabric onto the edge just to make sure that it was big enough with the shrinkage that happens when you quilt. So I hope you enjoy this little part of the video that I did end up having to redo, but I didn't film that. Okay, it is laid out. I still have to actually do the basting, which is going to probably take me a while and seems like it would be pretty boring to film, so I'm not. But I wanted to show the actual pattern that I decided on. So the center is the only place I did the full circle of the fan. Obviously I could have done a few more full circles, but in the vein of finishing up things in my sewing room, I used every single scrap of this, and this one. I have a little bit of this left, and literally scraps of this leafy white left, and then enough of this blue from Japan to do the binding. I have a few scraps of that and a few scraps of that left, but with this one, and this one, which were the others that I brought in, every bit, I used every bit of it to do this. So I had what I had on the fan pieces. I didn't have any more. I ended up having an odd number, and I was bound and determined to use every single one that I had made. There were a couple other patterns that I came up with. My husband and I spent a whole evening with me rearranging all of the fan pattern pieces to come up with this in a way that we both liked, because you know, this is going on his bed too. And every single other one, I would have these two pieces left of this, that we kind of joked that I could make some decorative pillows to go on our bed, but we don't usually use decorative pillows, and I really wanted them in the quilt. So I did this little concoction, and as you can see, I had to do a good deal of piecing just to even get this to work, here, and on the other side as well, to turn it and make it so that I could insert it diagonally. And these are the ends that are going to go off the edge of the bed, so that would be top or bottom over here, and then the right and the left, and these sides needed to be longer anyway. So that is what we came up with. I really am pleased with it. At first I was very concerned when I started incorporating these other fabrics that I had not originally intended to do, and because I thought it would look not, I don't know what the word is, maybe forced maybe, but I'm really pleased with it. I'm really pleased that I was able to frame off these corners to match the framing that I did in the center, and I don't think it looks as unplanned as it actually is. And I really love it. So the next step is pinning it for basting, and then coming up with how in the world I'm gonna quilt this bad boy. So I thought I had done the math so that this edge of the fabric was coming off a little bit more than this, so I'm a little concerned that with the shrinkage that happens, it's not going to be enough. I do have a little bit left of what I found at the thrift store for it, so I could go and sew another small panel onto the ends on this side, and the other side I got plenty here on the top and bottom. I'm just a little concerned about the edges, but call me crazy, I'm gonna not deal with that unless I actually don't have enough, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna start with quilting in the middle, and we will see. So we'll revisit after I have pinned it all. But yeah,
I really love it. It's really pretty.
Once it was basted, I did roll up one end of it, and I didn't actually start in the middle. I did, in fact, start on the edge, and that worked fine. And what I decided to do was I moved my Singer over to my cutting table, and I had to stand while doing it because my Juki doesn't have a walking foot, and it doesn't have the ability for a walking foot, but I have one for my Singer. So I moved it over, pulled my big spool of clear thread for the top because I really didn't want white thread on the top, but I did put white thread in the bobbin. And the clear thread is interesting to sew with. I have sewn with it before. I used it when I made my wedding dress, but it worked pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with it. I don't know if it will be used in later parts of this quilting. I just am not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but I did straight strips down the main lines of the quilt, both horizontally and vertically, just to get it tacked in place with the batting and the back so that I could remove all the pins. And it's technically done. Like the quilting, it's enough quilting that it will be fine, but it's not where I want it. I'm going to do a lot more quilting. I just haven't decided on what I want to do with the different elements, because the quilting that I would do on the fan pieces is not the same that I would want to do on the outer triangular pieces. So I'm going to have to brainstorm on that for a little bit. I think I want to do something unique in the framing areas that make it more look like a frame. So, and I don't know what I'm going to do by hand versus what I can do by machine. So that's what I did. That's where it is. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it, and it's definitely to a good stop point. Okay, battery's about to die, so I'm going to see if I can do this really fast. I have finished the stitching of the main rows back and forth with, I put white thread in the bobbin, and that looked really good, and then clear thread up top. So all the pins are out, and now begins the process of figuring out what else I want to do as far as quilting, but that's going to be in another video. So that's another thing that I'm going to try to do a little bit better this year on this channel to make it more doable for me to continue this, is not try to do necessarily some epic amount of stuff in one video. So there's no way that, I mean, this is taking me quite a long time, and that's okay. The second video of finishing this might be quite a ways down the road, because I'm still not even 100% sure I'm not gonna do some hand quilting, which will obviously take a while. So anyway, thanks for joining me for this part of the quilt. It's turning out so pretty. I love it so much. It's just, I can't wait till it's done. But again, I'm not gonna rush it. And so yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully another video will not be 2 months in following. I'll see you in the next one.